This story is about Bonnie, who has been my friend for 33 years. If I'd never known Bonnie, my life would have still felt empty of her. I think it would be like if there was a bald spot somewhere, or a vacancy in the corner of my brain. Bonnie is very, very smart. When I talk to Bonnie, I have to have my brain in gear and have my mind fully open. She isn't a devil worshiper or goofy believer that if you sleep in a pyramid-shaped thing, you'll be healthy and wise. That's too unscientific. She's not a Republican or a Southern Baptist or anything weird like that. She believes that being illogical is just as good at times as being logical. And this itself is logical. And sometimes my head spins, but in a great way. She always has an original perspective. It's as if Bonnie colors but doesn't bother with a coloring book. She can't fish, she can't put the pole back over her shoulder, throw it forward, and release the line at the same time. She just can't. She's now 71, and no less for it. She has 2 master's degrees and a PhD, but has never allowed anyone to call her Dr. Bonnie, further proving how freaking smart she is. I met her when we worked together in the 80s under a supervisor who was a condescending psycho dickhead diarrhea mouth creep. None of us liked him all that much. Our work group did something to offend him once again and sat listening to a lecture about his version of professional behavior. I was satisfied to just wait it out, but Bonnie suddenly announced to him, "You need a therapist." I was just glad I wasn't drinking milk. For a long time, Bonnie wandered through her life without knowing what could satisfy her. She was the first person I knew who took an antidepressant. About 25 years ago, she got her first pet, a big orange cat. She really loved him, so she got another big orange cat. And long before YouTube, she taught her kitties to pee and poop in the toilet. When her mother died, Bonnie inherited her house and moved back to Connecticut. She had a big yard, a new love of animals, and over time, she started rescuing dogs. She developed a website where she posted her rescues and sought good homes for them. But as in many things, she's a zealot. She began to feel responsible for dogs that had a bad life and a bad home, and she began to steal them. She was a villain to the local animal control officer who tried on more than one occasion to charge Bonnie with felony theft. She learned to deny, but had no compunction about breaking the law when abused dogs needed stealing. A dog lover who was familiar with Bonnie's website called and told her of a big white dog that was always chained to a doghouse at the far back of his neighbor's yard, and Bonnie couldn't stand that. Though Big Whitey had food and water, he had no love or freedom and no real life. One weekend, as prearranged, the dog lover neighbor called to tell Bonnie the owner of Big Whitey was out of town. And just that easy, Bonnie decided it was a good day to steal a dog. She was in her late 60s at the time, so this was not a mission of a young whippersnapper. She took her favorite dog with her and drove to an area near dog torturer's house. She parked and drank 2 courage-filled glasses of wine in her car before setting off on the heist. The street where the dog lived backed up to a stretch of woods. Bonnie wanted to come in from the back to avoid being seen, so set off towards the house through the thick woods with her own dog following along. 20 minutes later, she popped out of the woods into the backyard where the dog was chained. She loosed him from the chain, put a leash on him, and the 3 of them headed back to her car. Another 20 minutes back through the brush, and Bonnie and the 2 dogs arrived panting. She opened the doors, and both dogs jumped into the back seats. She'd not been seen and thought she'd pulled off a successful heist, but she couldn't find her car keys. If you knew Bonnie, you'd say, of course she lost her keys. It's a trait reminiscent of her relationship with fishing poles. She thought that she may have lost them when she was fully tipsy from the wine and unhooking Big Whitey. She left the dogs in the car and started back through the woods. 20 freaking minutes later, she popped out of the woods, but this time into the wrong backyard. She was exhausted and disoriented, and in her state, she caught the eye of the homeowner, who was suspicious and unfriendly. So Bonnie started to cry. I asked her if she really cried or fake cried. Oh, fake, of course, she said. She fake sobbed and fake wept and told him that she'd lost her dog and was looking for him. When she got a little lost herself, she asked him to go back in the house and call her fake husband to come help her look for her fake lost dog. He agreed, and Bonnie gave him a phony number. As soon as he went into the house, she took off. She found the right backyard, found her keys, and headed back. Another 20 minutes through the woods, and she practically crawled back to her car. She drank that rest of the wine while driving home, but unfortunately, that's not the end of the story. She couldn't post the stolen dog's picture on her website because she was already in trouble with animal control officer and had no desire to be confronted by Big Whitey's mean owner. Eventually, through word of mouth, she found a couple who seemed to be a good prospect to become Big Whitey's new owners. But when they saw the big white dog, they recognized him as the recently disappeared dog of an acquaintance. And so Bonnie was caught. But the couple had long been sympathetic to the dog's plight and still wanted him. They promised to keep him out of sight of dog torture, and with this shaky plan, they took Big Whitey home. The update, so far so good. Big Whitey has all he deserves. Bonnie's a hero, and if at some point she does get caught, she can always fake cry. This is a true story, and there's a emoticon smiley face.